this grace, and I'll just read you a brief summary to let you know a little bit of what it's about. So this grace tells the story of a New Age traveller family in 1980s Thatcherite Britain. These are Daisy, Rush, and their 9-year-old daughter, Grace. In 1985, at the Battle of the Beanfield at Stonehenge, their home, their bus, gets destroyed by cops, and their community is brutally torn asunder. That's a true story that happened to this community. Shortly afterwards, Rush, the dad, disappears. Daisy and Grace end up on the run from social services. They return to Daisy's birthplace, a remote island off the north coast of Ireland. Daisy gets pulled back into a very dark family past, involving smuggling and guns and worse. And wee Grace gets lost in a local myth of the Selkies, who shapeshift from seal to human form. This island is surrounded by seals. She becomes enchanted, and she becomes convinced that she can find her dad with the seals, with the Selkies, which puts her in grave danger. And then a shot in the night changes everything. And if this was EastEnders, that would be the duft of moment. So I'll read a wee extract for you now. The book is written from two perspectives, from Daisy, the mum, and from Grace, the 9-year-old daughter. So we get to see this world. Lost my glasses. I get to see this world from a grown-up perspective and also a 9-year-old perspective. And this first extract is from the first chapter, so it's just introducing us to Grace and her voice. Bless you. On the day my father disappeared, I was in trouble again. This time to do with the worms. Have you seen them? Sliced open, splayed like virgin sacrifices, the thread-like delicacy of their innermost secrets stretched by opposing pins. Some see beauty in such things, but it is the beauty of a child's scar, or the tears of Frankenstein's monster. We should not create such pain. To open the worm, you have to drag a pin all the way from the smooth band up to the mouth. If you go too deep, you may damage the internal organs. Among its other bits and pieces, your worm has 5 hearts. Just imagine them breaking. I was thinking of those hearts, wondering if worms had ears to hear their rhythms, and listening hard to hear my own, when the nasal tones of Miss P cut across my reverie. She looked up from her desk and over her glasses at my mother. So, Mrs. Doherty, it's Ms. Ms. She hit the consonants like someone clubbing a snake. Then, stretching her thin lips to a razor-like smile, asked, "And her father? I have no record of a Mr. O'Doherty." Well, it could have been any one of a dozen men, in fairness, so I thought it easier to give her my name. Save all the confusion, you know. My mother smiled warmly, winningly. Miss P drew her lips tight as a drawstring purse. There was to be no understanding here. Her currency was discipline, and its coinage, punishment, pure and simple. I sank further into my chair, started a new ladder in my tights, and thought about escaping on it, up or down, I didn't care. "And what are you smirking at, young lady? Would you care to share the joke?" "No, miss, nothing, miss." I knew the look on her face, could count the blows I would get with a ruler in the lines around her mouth. They were many and deep. Miss P was an expert in humiliation. She knew how to mock, how to expose, how to break a spirit. Of course, if Daisy, that's my mum, found out, she'd punch old Bumface here right on the nose. But that wouldn't exactly help my chances of staying in this school, and I was tired of moving. And I'd actually made a friend here, whose name was Cheryl, but I called her Cherry Bomb because it's funny. So I said nothing about the rule of the ruler and concentrated on being very still, on being chair-like. Young lady, keep still. I was. Stop swinging those feet. Pesky feet. Not my fault, they have a will of their own. Nothing to do with me. By this time, my mother was in full flight, helpfully cataloguing the men who could have fathered me, the colourful circumstances under which she'd met them, and the various hallucinogens that make the details hard to decipher. I knew for a fact that Rush, my dad, was at home that very minute making leek and potato soup, because that's what he promised me for my tea. And I also knew that pointing this out would not be considered helpful. My dad was great at making soup. It was one of the procrastinations that, as an artist, he made an art form of. Nor did I point out, though I could have, that we three had been a family now for 9 years, as many as me. You see, Miss P had got right up Daisy's nose, and that's just the way she was. Let me tell you about my mother. Daisy has flaming red hair and sparking eyes. She jokes that only a harp and a leprechaun could make her look more Irish. She has tattoos, but just in secret places, like the ladybird behind her ear and the heart in her left palm, to hold love always. She has the bearing of a queen with the mouth of a sailor. Heads turn and ladies tut when she passes by. And even though trouble seeks her, she never seems troubled by it. I think she's beautiful. By trouble, she always means family, that other lot over in Ireland. The only clouds I ever saw trouble her sea green eyes were when they came up. Her top lip would become thin and her brow would furrow with indignation and hurt, like a cat when you tread on its tail. It wasn't until 20 minutes after we left Miss P's office, as Daisy crunched the gears and wheeled our old banger up the last hill before home, that she turned to me, surprised, and asked, "What did you do, anyway?" "I freed the worms." "The worms, honey?" "The ones ready for dissection in science." "Oh, well, that's not the end of the world, surely. They can always get more." "But, Mom, they shouldn't cut them up. It hurts." "Fair enough. Well done, honey." See? How was I expected to behave as a model citizen and stay in Bumface's good books with that kind of lax attitude? "I'm going to get it in the neck tomorrow," I mumbled. But Mum was grinding the gears into submission and didn't hear.